Hey, what's going on, Boise State fans? Happy Monday to you. Greetings. Bronco Nation News Live, BroncoNationNews.com. Whether you're listening to us live on the social media channels of Bronco Nation News or 95.3 The Ticket, or whether you got us on the podcast version on your phone later in the day, we appreciate you. However you're listening to this, it is Monday. And again, my name is BJ Rain. So that means on Mondays, John Mallory, Mondays with Mallory, KTIK Radio. 95.3 The Ticket. You can hear him on the app. You can hear him KTIK.com, all the different ways. 3 to 6 with Mike Prater and JP weekdays. And Johnny, Monday morning, always love starting it off with you, man. How are you today?
Hey, BJ. Nice day. Looks like the weather is going to contribute to all these factors of making this maybe the best Monday morning hit with BJ we've had up to this point. I know we're searching for topics this time of year, but luckily I think this town's providing us with some pretty juicy topics to talk about. And this helps me, man. I pop out of bed on Mondays because I know I gotta hang out with BJ Rains for a little bit. So I'm ready to go, fired up. Sean Kemp, Gary Payton, 1996. Let's roll.
I'm glad you said it's working out for you, because when I was negotiating with Mike Prater, the one day he said is, I'm not doing Mondays.
Yeah,
I'm glad the Mondays with Mallory, we were able to convince you to do that, or we might have been in trouble today. Prater didn't, he said any day but Monday is fine with him. But after a Sunday of watching sports, you're always eager and willing, even at less than 100%, to get up with us early, and we appreciate it, man. Looking forward to today's show. We're going to start a new series here. Now, there's some other stuff that's going to come up. We should say we had a cryptic meeting with Leon Rice last week, right, on Thursday, and we hadn't really said much about it, but apparently today there might be some basketball news coming out. We don't know. We were talking to Leon Rice about Sada Nganga. As he's walking away, he says, we'll see you on Monday. We're like, what's that about? Then he smiles and says, that's what we call a tease, and kept walking.
Leon.
We were led to believe. You were there, right? I mean,
yeah.
It sounds like.
I'm the one who said, what's Monday? He said, see you guys Monday. I was like, why will we see you Monday? And he comes back and says, that's what they call a tease. So, yeah, I'm expecting some Boise State basketball news today, too.
Yeah, so I don't know what we're looking at in terms of it's our Moose returning or a big donor, or who knows?
Whoever.
Folks can speculate and guess all they want, but who knows if he was even being serious. He might have just been messing with us. So be on your toes. We have no information. There may be some basketball news today, and if there is, we'll hear about it from 3 to 6 with Prater and Johnny, or maybe it's going to happen during the show here. Who knows? We'll see. But speaking of basketball, we are going to start a series here, Johnny. If other stuff pops up, we'll talk about that. But as you said, we're kind of getting into the off season here where there's not as much going on. But I wanted to, we kind of talked about basketball, and then, the season ended so abruptly, and then we went right into spring football. I kind of want to give, some players their due. And so I kind of thought for the next 2 weeks, here on the show with the various guests, whether it's you or Tust or Prater, we'd kind of, take a different player every day from the basketball team, in particular the ones that are coming back next year, and just kind of analyzing their season, their strengths, their weaknesses, their good, their bad, and what we see kind of as the projections for them moving forward on this team. And so we're going to start off today with a guy that I know is one of your favorites. He's a guy that obviously is a lot of Boise State fans' favorites, and that's Naje Smith. Naje Smith, obviously the transfer coming over from Coach Ice College. And, first year didn't play a whole lot. Got, I think, 6 minutes a game or so his first year with the Broncos. But year 2 last year, Johnny, he really stepped up and was very valuable. And if you're going to be a Mountain West championship, top 25 caliber team, guys like Naje Smith that kind of do the dirty work quietly, put up some points and rebounds and blocks off the bench. He was a very valuable piece to this team this year.
And I think there's still room, BJ, for a lot of improvement with Naje. And that's a great thing, right? I'm not going to say that, he should be in the starting lineup. If he is in the starting lineup, good for him. If Leon and his staff want to go in that direction. But for me, BJ, Naje Smith has potential to be one of the top 3 and D guys in the Mountain West.
There we go. It only took about 20 seconds for you to get to your favorite term there with Naje.
Yeah, 3 and D. And that's Naje Smith for me. Now, Prater said it better than I've ever heard anybody say it. And I don't, he said, when Naje Smith shoots a 3, I feel like I have to run to a church and say a prayer. And there was a time at this season where he was struggling from downtown. I thought that got better throughout the course of the season, and I would expect Naje Smith to be in the gym shooting up to 500 to 1,000 threes a day. That's what a lot of college basketball players do. And for Naje Smith, BJ, to be able to take a 328 3-point percentage and next year have that be 368, right? Can he become a 36% 3-point shooter? I think he's going to need that. His length and his athleticism, I mean, they say, hey, this guy might play some type of pro ball, right? He's a gifted athlete. So I think the sky's the limit for Naje, and it's great that they have him back. But again, I think he can be, maybe the 6th man of the year in the Mountain West next season, or be close to that. And they need that, but he's got to be a better shooter. He can't shoot 32% from downtown next year, BJ. That's got to get up to 35 to 37%, in my opinion. And defense, I know he'll continue to work on that. It's a big fabric of his game, and I think he's going to improve on the defensive end as well, which, again, he needs to. Cool thing about Naje, he can guard essentially 1 through 3 positions at an elite conference caliber level. He's a nice piece to the puzzle, as you said.
Oh, I would say maybe even the 4 with his leaping ability to block and stuff. I mean, he's 6'7". He had some big blocks, some big moments there, and he does have a weird shooting motion. That's the one thing. He kind of shoots the ball and it spins sideways when he shoots it. Folks can get their comments in, their questions in on Naje Smith. What do you think of Naje last year? What do you think of Naje Smith's kind of outlook forward? Again, we're kind of focusing on him today. We're hoping on a couple of these shows to actually get interviews with some of the players, but we weren't able today to set it up with Naje Smith. Tomorrow we'll focus on Pavle Kuzmanovic, and we'll kind of move down the line, but we're starting with Naje because I know Johnny's a big fan of his. And you look at his games, Johnny, he had 6 games in double figures. First game of the season, Utah Valley, he had 15 points. He was 6 of 6 from the field in that game. He had a road game at CSUN where he had 17 points. He was 7 of 7 from the field in that game. He had a big stretch in the middle of the conference season at Nevada. When Boise State was really starting to get it going. At Nevada, he had 11 points, 5 of 7 shooting in 19 minutes. The very next game on the road at New Mexico, he had 14 points, 5 rebounds in 27 minutes at New Mexico. And then 2 other games that stood out to me. San Diego State at home, obviously a huge game, where they won because of the missed free throws. And Kejab hit the free throws at the end of the game, so every point mattered. He had 13 points in that game on 4 of 6 shooting in 21 minutes. And then that semifinal game against Wyoming there in the conference tournament, he had 10 points on 4 of 6 shooting. So he had 6 games in double figures. He stepped up in some big games and produced. And but I think it's the rebounding. I think it's the block shots. It's the defense. I mean, he's going to give you 100% effort. And you just see him on the bench and you see, who's the guy, Johnny, before the game when they get in the huddle? Who's the guy dancing? It's Naje Smith. I mean, he's that energy guy. He's that, fun-loving guy that's smiling, that everybody likes to be around. And when he gets in there on the court, he goes 110%, and he usually makes those small plays that help them win.
You know what's interesting, too, about Naje is his minutes dispersal, right? Like, he truly is the guy on that team last year where he didn't know how many minutes he was going to get. The most minutes he had last season was 27 minutes in a game. That was a victory against New Mexico. The least amount of minutes Naje had last year was 2. He had 2 minutes against Utah State. That was a win at home. And Leon is able to, and his staff, be able to just kind of say, Naje, when we really need you, yeah, you might give us 25 plus. But when we don't need you, you might give us 7 minutes. And the cool thing about Naje Smith is he's not in the transfer portal, right? A lot of guys would be. When they don't know their minutes and they don't know their touches and they don't have their role completely spelled out for them on a nightly basis, that's when it's like, okay, we're out of here. Naje's not that type of cat, and I love him for that. Here's an interesting thing on Naje Smith, BJ. Last season, Boise State was swept by Colorado State. In those games, in Fort Collins, Naje played 9 minutes. At home here on Super Bowl Sunday, the loss, Naje played 8 minutes. This is kind of weird. They lost both those games, and Naje Smith wasn't essentially in that game plan playing 9 and 8 minutes, right? It's interesting to see where he was, how Leon and whatnot gave those minutes out. Like, why didn't Naje play against Colorado State? It must be a matchup thing. I'm not certain, but it's kind of interesting. You look at that. The one team that swept Boise State last year, they did it, and Naje Smith didn't really get to play those 2 games.
Well, there's a trend there, Johnny, that I have in my notes here. First of all, he did not score in one of those games, and he only had 3 points in the other game. In Boise State's 8 losses, okay, they lost 8 games this year. Here's the point total for Naje Smith in the 8 games they lost. 2, 2, 0, 0, 0, 3, 0, and then he had 6 points against Memphis.
Wow.
But in the 8 losses, he didn't score in 4 of the 8. He had 3 or less in 3 of them, and he only scored 6 points in the Memphis game. You're talking 2, 4, 7, and 6 is 13 points total in the 8 losses. There's a direct correlation, man, when Naje Smith is coming off the bench and producing with this team winning and not. You look at, an easy example is that Wyoming game where they lost at Wyoming 72-65 that ended the 14-game winning streak. Remember that game? It was a tie game with 3 minutes to go, and then Wyoming hit a couple shots there at the end of the game. He was 0 for 5 from the field, 0 for 4 from 3 for Naje Smith. He only played 11 minutes in that game, and he goes 0 for 4 from 3 in a game that was tied with 3 minutes to go. If Naje Smith just hits 1 or 2 of those threes, maybe just 1, Boise State beats Wyoming, and it's a 15-game winning streak. But he goes 0 for 4 in that game, and they lose. And by no means am I putting the loss on Naje Smith. I'm just saying it's a direct correlation, like you said. The two Colorado State games, he barely plays, doesn't score in 1, they lose by a bucket. Scores 3 in 1, and they lose by a bucket. When he doesn't score and he's not out there giving them stuff, they didn't win. I mean, he really was a valuable piece coming off the bench, man.
No question. One of the top reserve players in the league last year. And, it's weird to associate the difference in levels of the highest level of junior college to the Mountain West, right? Like, you wouldn't think it would be all that big a transition, right? Like, if you're the number 1 JUCO player in the country, you would think you could go to just about any conference in college basketball and be a legit player right away. That's not the case, man. Naje Smith was one of the great junior college players at Coach Ice. Am I saying that right, or Coach Ice? Coach Ice College.
Which that sounds good to me. Let's go with it.
Yeah. He was one of the top players in the country, as you know. You're the one who told me this. Like, that guy was a first-team JUCO All-American. Naje Smith was. I'm like, whoa, okay. You look at his numbers, he was dropping like 25 a night in JUCO. And you come and you go to the Mountain West, and Naje Smith's not a guy who's going to drop 25 a night. So I think there is that grace period, if you will. Luckily for Naje, he gets the COVID year back, because like you said, last year he comes to this team and he plays, 6 minutes a night. Last year he played 16 minutes a night. This coming season, I think he plays 21, 22 minutes, maybe even more than that per game. So the difference in level there, and that's got to be a tough adjustment, right? When you go from the man, capital T, capital M, right? You're the man. And then you come to a Mountain West program and you're the 7th man. You're the 8th man. Last year he was the 9th man, right? It's got to be a difficult learning curve to just find your way to assimilate within that program and that culture. Naje Smith's done a terrific job of that. Again, you never hear him complaining about minutes or touches. He probably thought, let's be honest, when you're a first-team JUCO All-American, he probably thought he was going to come here and start and be an all Mountain West player. And that has not happened yet, but he's still on the team. He's not complaining about it. He's working hard. I mean, he's a coach's dream, man, and Boise State's lucky to have a guy like Naje Smith.
And we should mention that we're going to spin it forward here in a minute, but obviously he's from Spokane, Washington, Lewis and Clark High School. You mentioned Coach Ice College. He went there for 2 seasons, and his second season, as you said, 23.3 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, 2.1 assists. He was the player of the year in their conference down there and a first-team JUCO All-American. Like you said, he was the first junior college All-American first-team honoree to ever sign with Boise State. So, you know, his 23.3 points per game, Johnny, we're number 11 in the country at the JUCO ranks. He shot over 56% from the field, and he actually shot 38.3% from three. 38% from three. So he's got it. He's got it in him for as weird as he shoots. He was a 38% 3-point shooter. The line is the same in junior college as it is at the Division I level. He was also 82.1% from the foul line.
Wow.
So he signs with Boise State. As you said, 2 years ago, comes in, plays in 17 games, average 1.6 rebounds, 0.9 points per game, 6.7 minutes. Now, he likely would have redshirted, Johnny, if not for that year where it didn't count because of COVID. Remember, they say this is kind of a free year. The eligibility doesn't count because of COVID. All the season was shortened. And it's interesting. They didn't count it, and then they give you the year back, too. So he's actually, that year didn't count, I guess. And so now he is the senior this year coming up where he would have been gone. He played 2 years here. His eligibility should have been up, but he gets the extra year. And we should say Boise State hasn't actually announced that he is going to come back, but he said numerous times during the season. I don't think it's much of a, big deal to announce or anything, that him and Lucas Milner both already basically said we're coming back. So this is an extra year for him. He gets a bonus year. And Boise State wants to obviously take advantage of that. We're going to spin this forward in a second. We're going to get some comments, but do need to thank some of our great sponsors here briefly. BoiseDentistryCo.com. I'll be seeing Dr. Meinert on Thursday morning, so I can report back, Johnny, on Thursday about how things are going over there at Boise Dentistry Co. Getting my teeth cleaned on Thursday. There's the phone number. There's the website, BoiseDentistryCo.com. If you're looking for a whole family dentist to switch to a new dentist, Dr. Meinert's the guy for you. And again, he'll talk Boise State sports with you while he's working on your teeth. It's a great setup and appreciate him. So check him out, BoiseDentistryCo.com. If you're looking to get into the trucking industry, we're very thankful for transportation compliance service as well, transcomservice.com. Over 1,000 people a day, as I've told you, are becoming truck drivers. And you could be the next one. They can help you do it. All the DOT permits, all the things you need to get out on the road. It's a booming industry right now because of the pandemic, but it's not something you can just decide I want to become a truck driver and start yourself. You need a company to help you do it, and that company is TCS. So check them out, transcomservice.com. They're a local company that helps national folks just like United Commercial Insurance. They're based in Boise, but they can write policies for business owners in 44 states around the country. So check them out, UnitedCommercialInsurance.com. All your different workers' comp, all your liability policies, all your business insurance needs. You may think you have good business insurance if you're a business owner out there. I know we have a lot of them watching. Give United Commercial Insurance a call. Ask for Brandon, and they can get you a better rate than you think you're getting already. So check them out, UnitedCommercialInsurance.com. And we appreciate some of our great sponsors here at Bronco Nation News. We got more to tell you about later. But, Johnny, let's get to some of the comments here before we kind of spin this outlook ahead. Nick Wade chiming in. You're an NBA guy. Naje is a more exciting Bruce Bowen. What are your thoughts there?
That's the comparison. Like Bruce Bowen was one of those guys who kind of started to coin that 3-and-D term that I love so much, right? You come off the bench, and Bruce Bowen started a lot. He just got his number retired by the Spurs. Bruce Bowen was a high-level defender for a long time in the NBA. Naje's got a long way to go there, but sure, that type of comparison, Naje Smith's going to come off the bench. He's got length and athleticism. He's going to defend his tail off and don't leave him open for a three. That's a new role in hoops, and it's a vital role. And the good teams have someone who can fill that role. Hit, close to 40% of your threes, defend your tail off, and come off the bench and give serviceable quality minutes. Yeah, I mean, that's a good comparison. Bruce Bowen, Naje Smith. But if Naje Smith can keep with those Bruce Bowen comparisons, then Naje Smith's going to have a heck of a year next season, and Boise State's going to win a lot more games than they lose.
Jordan Morales chiming in. Can I just say how much I love that we're still talking basketball in mid-April? Great
Jordan
stuff,
crazy,
guys.
Man.
Love Naje time. Often he would come in and flip the script on games last season. And Bruce Bowen, they're kind of similar, but I don't remember Bruce Bowen any huge dunks or alley-oop dunks or some of the blocks that Naje had. I mean, they have some things that are similar, but I think Naje, not to say he's a better player than Bruce Bowen, but he does some things in terms of the defense, of the ability to block shots, the rebounding. And as I said, if you go back and put a highlight reel together with every dunk that Boise State had last season, I'd have to believe a lot of the bigger ones were Naje Smith.
Good athlete. You're right. Jumps out of the gym. Like I said, he's long, so he can get up there and put more on dunks because he's got those long arms, and he's an exciting player and catch alley-oops. And you watch those dunk contests they have in the layup line. I mean, Naje Smith has some of the best dunks on that team. Hopefully next year that there's a time where he can show some of that dunking ability, not just on the layup line, BJ, but actually in a game, because he will fire up Extra Mile Arena if given the opportunity.
I remember at least one where there was a 2-on-1 break, and Pavle Kuzmanovic, I think, went behind the back to him, and he caught it and slammed it home. And there was a couple others that certainly got the crowd going. Rudy chiming in, depends on who comes back, but have always liked Naje's energy off the bench. At least it has to be the first one off the bench if he's not starting next year. Perry chiming in, he just needs more minutes.
Yeah.
Where are you in terms of some guys are just better off the bench? Like some guys, you wait the 4 or 5 minutes. Some guys just you get starters minutes maybe, but it's coming off the bench, the energy you bring. Leon's always liked having kind of a guy like that you can go to off the bench early in the game. Do you think
I
Naje?
like how Leon does that too, because he
had Alex Hobbs coming off the bench his senior year but he played 30 minutes a game.
Exactly. And like Max Rice last year, who was the sixth man. Max Rice was in most games before the first media timeout, BJ, which is at the 16-minute mark. Leon likes getting the bench guys in early, and I support that because it's just not an easy task. It's so much easier just to be a starter and get into the flow of the game. Coming off the bench, I mean, there's a lot that has to do with that. Naje stepped up to the plate. Not a lot of people, BJ. Most players, they hate coming off the bench. Their mom and dad don't like it. Their girlfriend doesn't like it. Their friends, why aren't you starting? You're a JUCO first team All-American. What's going on here? Well, this is my role. And so it's not an easy role to play. And Naje Smith does a terrific job of that. And, like you said, his minutes, we've seen a major increase in those every year. He played 16 minutes a night last year. That's 8 minutes a half, roughly, okay? About half the game. I think those minutes go up to 22, 23 minutes next season, where he's playing about 11 minutes a half, right? And Boise State's going to need that because, look, guys get better, Naje Smith's in the gym. He's working out. He's developing as a person. He's growing as a basketball player, but as also a student athlete and just a dude. He's going to be better next year, and that's a good advantage for Boise State to have, and I think he's going to have a pretty good season next year. But is he going to start? Probably not. And maybe I shouldn't say this, but my first thought is, and maybe you agree with me on this or not, BJ, but my first thought on Naje Smith is, if he's starting, is that a bad thing for Boise State, or is it a good thing? It feels to me like him coming off the bench is the best thing for this roster. I'll let Leon, obviously, and his staff decide that. But he does seem, BJ, you're right, like one of those bench guys. And hopefully if he's playing 25 minutes or whatever, 23 minutes a night, that will suffice and get him, keep him happy. Because you got to keep kids happy nowadays, too. And Naje Smith doesn't seem like he's very difficult to keep happy, and that's a good thing for Boise State.
Yeah, Perry saying I like him coming off the bench to create havoc, and
Yeah.
I do. I was going to go there with your point, Johnny. I do agree with you. It's nothing against Naje Smith. You can say all you want about, I guess, regardless of how good he is. Yes, him coming off the bench is great. He brings the energy. He comes in 5 minutes in, he does great. But the other thing is, if he's coming off the bench, that probably means there's a player even better than him starting, and that's a better thing for this team in terms of that their outlook for the season. Nothing against Naje Smith, but if he is starting next year, that means they either struck out in the portal or they maybe lost another guy. I don't know how the roster is going to shake down, like you said, but I think this team is at its best for multiple reasons if Naje Smith is your 6th or 7th man.
100% agree. And, I think Max Rice, same type of deal. I think you keep Max and Naje coming off the bench. That's your bench mob. Throw in a Lucas Milner and anybody else you want to throw into this thing. That Kobe Young kid, I wonder what type of minutes he's going to get next year.
RJ Keene, we're going to get to all these guys. Yep.
All those guys, right? So the bench mob is going to be interesting next year. Certainly, I would hope that it's still led by Max and Naje Smith, because those are very high-level bench players. I don't know, BJ, if there's another Mountain West team that brings off their bench the likes of Max Rice, Naje Smith, Lucas Milner, and some other players. Boise State, certainly not a weakness of this team, BJ, is their bench. More like a strength.
No doubt about it. Kurt chiming in, 14-6 is his prediction for next year. Might be a little pushing for a little much there from Kurt.
Smith points?
14-6 points and rebounds, I guess.
That means he's leading the team in scoring right there, Kurt. I don't think Boise State wants Naje Smith dropping 14-6. If they do, first off, he's having a hell of a year. And secondly, hopefully Boise State's being able to win games. But who's the leading scorer this year? Shaver?
Yep.
Kejab? It was about 14 points a game.
Yep. Yeah, Kejab. Yeah, you're right. Hey,
Naje
quick thank you.
Average, 6 or 7 points at the most. But
Ridley's Family Markets, shop Ridley's.com, 13 locations. We appreciate them. The at-home shopping, the Skip app, all that great stuff. You can check them out, shop Ridley's.com. The Blue and Orange store right there at Boise Town Square Mall. You can also check them out online, theblueandorangestore.com, where you get all the flash sales, the daily deals, all the Nike gear, everything. Check them out, theblueandorangestore.com. Johnny, we really appreciate your time today, man. Great stuff. And who would have thought we could have spent 28 minutes talking about solely Naje Smith? But that's the way it goes. We appreciate the comments from everybody. And I guess we'll be waiting to see about this news. If there is something that happens today, you guys will have it, right?
Absolutely. See what Leon's got.
Appreciate it, man. 3 to 6 today. You can hear Prater, Johnny, and JP, and Bob as well for his segment. That'll be KTIK.com, the KTIK app, 95.3 FM, 1350 AM. Again, that's 3 to 6 today. So we appreciate Johnny. We'll be listening today, man. And
hey, DJ,
yes,
pull JP's camera up. Can you do this right now?
Is he getting met? Is he okay with it?
Give me my boy JP a little.
I don't think there he is. There he is. Appreciate it. He's already mad because it's 9:30. I got to get off here before I go over the limits. So,
hey guys,
take care. Bronco Nation News, BroncoNationNews.com.